Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Akila Widastuti, and in this video I would like to tell you about my review a textbook of English for Indonesian. This review is from two books that given by Mr. Abdul Shahid. There are two books, students' books and teachers' book. The title is When English Rings a Bell. This is the book's identity. You can see the book title, author, publisher, city, print, years, and page in here. Next, 8 core principles for teaching and learning English. This is 8 point for review these books. I will explain about this 8 point in the next slide. Principle 1. The primacy of input. In the teacher's book, the input contained in this book is also very good, as in chapter 1 on the characteristic of learning, where students are asked to ask questions and the teacher will correct their reasoning if the students are wrong. This can correct misunderstanding of the student. And for the student's book, this book's input is very good because it is provides useful tips in each chapter. This makes it easier for students to overcome the difficulties they experience during the independent learning process, so the students can understand easily using these tips. Principle 2. Meaning focus output is important. In the teacher's book, this book doesn't explain the meaning but focus more on activities that are observed and carried out directly, so the students are asked to understand themselves through practice that they do directly. In the student's book, it's a pity this book has no meaning or explanation. This book only contains examples for direct practice, so many students have difficulty knowing what the meaning of their learning. Principle 3. Don't overteach grammar. These two books is same about this principle. In the teachers and students book, this book teach a lot of grammar at each meeting, so that it is too difficult for a student. With the understanding they have to do independently, they are also required to always increase their vocabulary and their grammar. Principle 4. Focus on high-frequency words. In the teacher's book, this book focuses on the ability to master word or sentence. Students are asked to be able to master it correctly. It can be seen from the assessment table in each chapter to measure students' ability after learning takes place. And in the student's book, this book focuses on words that have a high level of difficulty, then accompanied by the tips that are given in each chapter. Principle 5. Teach words in meaningful chunks. In this principle, in two books that have a same principle, that is, this book also teaches students to be able to adjust the number of words according to their usage need, with example and tips in each chapter. Principle 6. Focus on fluency development. In the teacher's book, this book focuses very much on developing fluency. Students are asked to practice independently and will be corrected by the teacher if there is an error. Repetition is, of course, always done so the students are fluent. And for the student's book, this book focuses very much on developing fluency. In each chapter, practice is always given in order to train students' fluency. Next, Principle 7. Motivation is key to language learning. In the teacher's book, in closing activities, the teacher will always remind back students regarding the material that has been studied on that day. And the teacher also remind or motivate students to continue practicing, and there is no need to feel embarrassed about using English in everyday conversation. For the student's book, this book also provides message and motivation to students in each of the tips given in each chapter. The last principle H. Amount and intensity of instruction go hand in hand. It's also the same in its two books, teachers and students book. In here, the teacher provides a safe intensity with a tone, so that student can understand it accordance with the others of the level of learning, and this make it easier for the student for learning the material. This is the advantages and disadvantages for the teacher's book. The advantages is that it uses a lot of example so the student can easily understand the meaning of the material. This book also encourages students' creativity because the students are asked to be able to understand and practice independently, so the teacher can easily assess the student's ability. These books provide the step of things that teacher must do in the learning process. This book also contains an assessment format which is very helpful for the teacher in the process of assessing students' ability. And for disadvantages for these books is the lack of information or meaning, so that students lack knowledge of the meaning of the learning that they get. This book is also very sad because it focuses too much on grammar and vocabulary only. Students are required to be able to understand for themselves, while the level of ability of each student is different. This makes it difficult for low ability students. This is the advantages and disadvantages from the student's book. The advantages is that is contain picture on each material. This image has a high influence such as attracting students' attention and can help students to understand the expression conveyed in this example. Besides that, there are also tips that are given in each material or chapter, so that students can easily solve the problem by using the tips that are provided, which will also greatly facilitate students in understanding it. And disadvantages for this book are the lack of explanation or meaning in each lesson, so that students don't really explore the material. These books also only focus on the vocabulary and grammar and is full of practice, so the students' understanding is not broad. Students are required to be able to understand for themselves, while the level of ability of each student is different. This makes it difficult for low ability students, and it's very good for the students that have high ability. For each principle that I was explained to you, the explanation I give from me and discuss it with my friend like Enda Permata, Nabila, Julaiha, and Vidya. So we'll get this point, and they help me for this material, this assignment, and I think that's all about my explanation. I'm sorry for all my mistakes. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.